To fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Okay, everybody. I know that there's so much happening all at once, everywhere. Maybe that was a movie, and maybe we're in the wrong timeline. I don't know. But I have to tell you the timeline that we're on. It is the timeline in which Adam Selzer joins us in studio. Adam Selzer, he's an author, historian, a tour guide, and one of my dear friends, and also fellow combatant in Wisconsin, door knocking.
Better into that campaign.
There were some things that happened along the way. There were some things. We went through some stuff. Happy holidays, my friend.
To you as well, Patty.
Thank you. I do kind of miss our brat stops.
I do, yeah.
Oh my God, those are glorious. And you know, look, you and I are not in the. There's someone, our friend Auntie Sherry called yesterday from Vegas, and she's tired of the autopsies and the postmortems and what could have, should have happened, what went wrong, and the firing circle. You know, are you? And you mentioned before the show started that you kind of have shut down on all the news sources, like just drips and drabs.
Drips and drabs. I haven't been following quite as much. You know, well, I was out of the country and I didn't have the data to follow as much.
Yes.
And then I was in an archive where you couldn't have your phone out for a week. So
you were in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I was in Oklahoma, so I haven't really been able to follow the news as much.
Which is not a bad thing. It's not bad.
It's better to unplug a little bit here and there, you know.
Yeah, unplug and be selective.
Well, you know, I've been seeing people talk about the widespread celebration over the killing of this. You need to get offline for a minute.
Yes.
I mean, it's widespread in certain corners of the internet where you are. Most people aren't really following this story that much, you know.
With Luigi.
Yeah, with Luigi.
And that was my thing, was that because I'm a stand-up comic, I mean, it was...
I mean, the jokes write themselves, for sure.
And it was... I have over... I was looking at it, I thought it was like 400, you know, comics that I'm friends with on Facebook. It's over 600. I mean, I've been doing comedy for 30 years. And the proliferation of jokes and all this stuff. And so I didn't actually talk about it on the show. I sort of went, I addressed it and moved on. And then, you know, we have a sponsor who he in his own words on Tuesday was talking about how he was very clumsy. He had a T-shirt that said, "In a world of CEOs, be a Luigi." Which is a little bit, it's gross.
Yeah.
And he agrees. But what he also talked about is that, like, he is willing to grow and understand. I mean, like, it was his knee-jerk reaction to the fact that, like, for decades we've been told...
I got nothing good to say about the healthcare CEOs. I think that they're a very low form of human life.
Well, but, and to that, right, that the flip side to me, I guess, in the news has always been when a person of color, particularly black men, don't comply. They are, you know, snuffed out because they sold, single cigarettes, or they didn't pull over in time, or they were, you know, they told the police officers that they had a weapon in the car, but the cops, I mean, like, and again,
and on and on and on.
And I'm not demonizing the cops. What I'm saying is the reaction has always been from people who think that's okay for those people to be killed and executed on site, right? Because they're like, well, they didn't break the law. Well, breaking the law for selling a single cigarette, for, you know, not complying, is not an execution,
right?
And so I'm not equating it. I know that people are going to hear me equating it. I'm just saying the energy is that the working class, and believe me, Luigi is not the working class. He's a millionaire.
I haven't looked into him at all.
Oh, he's really.
I assume he's going to turn out to be a nut.
But he comes from a really wealthy family.
Interesting.
Very wealthy family out of I believe it's Pennsylvania, Ohio. Maybe. His father was his grandfather died when his dad was really young. He went to his dad was like 12 years old. Went to work right away. Joined the Navy. Built hospitals. Basically became a land developer. Built hospitals and became. Yeah. He ended up buying a golf course. Luigi went to UPenn. Got a degree. He got a master's degree. He's very well educated. Yeah. Suffered from severe back pain, chronic back pain, which I think led to some sort of psychosis. I mean, right. we often don't equate or understand the mental trauma that happens with pain, with trying to seek care in our healthcare system and our insurance system. I'm held together by very thin threads when it comes to what I've been through my entire life when it comes to our healthcare system, like from a very young age. And so my husband, I'm not going to say who, somebody made a very interesting point that, Luigi's the kind of guy who has like the time, the money, the bill, because he made a ghost gun. Yeah. Right. So he has the wherewithal to go like, I'm going to do this thing. Right. Whereas everybody else is just trying to survive. Yeah. I don't know. Again, for those who are hearing that I am in any way excusing it, I am seeing it through the perspective of having been on the radio for more than a decade. When I was on WGN, people would call and tell me that, whether it was George Floyd, whether it was in Ferguson, Missouri, whether it was in New York, I can't breathe. It was always, why didn't they just comply? It was always minimizing the exchange between law enforcement and somebody who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe doing something that was extraordinarily illegal. Selling a single cigarette worth getting choked out? No. I mean, you also don't get to be judge, jury, and executioner, right? And neither does Luigi. Yeah, neither does Luigi. And so the outrage there. But here's the thing: there isn't a lot of outrage about the execution of him, the assassination of him. There's outrage to the reaction to it. Yeah, those are two different things. That's true. And if you're more angry at people making jokes or making light or elevating him to a hero status, if you're more angry about that than you are about children being slaughtered in their classrooms, so they're so unidentifiable that they have to go by what shoes or clothes they were wearing, I'm just saying. Yeah. Hi, Adam. How are you? Hey, how you doing? We got it off to a happy start. All right. Well, the picture they've got of him today being escorted by the mayor and the mayor does not need to be there. Yeah. I cannot think. I understand you need a large security entourage for this kind of thing. I don't know why they're all behind him and no one's in front of him. This is a lesson we probably should have learned with Lee Harvey Oswald. Right. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but how come there's nobody in front of him? The fact that the mayor is there in the entourage just makes it look like a photo op to me more than anything else. It's crazy. Yeah. So if folks haven't seen this photo, isn't a movie, Mayor, Mr. Mayor. If folks haven't seen the photo, if you aren't trying to elevate this guy to iconic hero status, you're doing a very bad job of it. Yeah, it's hard to think what they could have done differently that would make him less. Yeah. that would make him more of one. For folks, again, if you haven't seen it, there's FBI. There's guys in SWAT, bulletproof jackets, as Adam mentioned, electeds. Yeah, like guys with the mayor's walking with them. Yeah, and this is very much like something that would happen in Batman. Yes, and not in real life. And he is in an orange jumpsuit. Everybody in black or blue, and it's going to be an iconic photo now for the rest of our country's existence. Yeah. And for historians to look at for decades. I mean, you as a historian, right? I mean, think of you in 100 years, right? Because that's kind of your timeline is about 100 years. It's usually I go up to about the 40s maybe, right? But very rarely even that far, right? So think of that. I mean, people are going to but I don't envy those historians. Do you? Yeah. With the volume of information, there's going to be a huge volume of information, and they're going to be relying on their AI personal assistants to take a break from. To take a break from doing sex role play with them to do some actual work now and then. God. Yeah, I mean, you are in. I was telling Steve this the other day. I came out of nowhere. I was talking to Tom Appel yesterday. He had rented the movie back when Netflix still sent you DVDs.
Yeah.
He and his wife had gotten Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
But it was too daunting. They didn't realize how long the movie is.
That's a lot of movie.
It's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it triggered a memory for me. I, as a historian and as an undergrad, I wrote about women in the antebellum South because I found it fascinating because I didn't write about Gone with the Wind. I actually wrote about the historical moments where like the governments had to pay welfare to women in order to make sure they could keep their farms going while their men were off on the front.
Yeah.
And I was telling Steve today, I Googled it. Like I'm still... In 2019, my paper from 1994 is still being sourced because I was in a, like you in a microfiche room, like it was a tiny little room, and I took all the data down and cataloged it, and nobody else has done that. And like the work that we as historians have to do now, like is a lot of what you're looking for. That's still all manual, like with gloves on at the historical society or in libraries.
They very rarely make you wear gloves anymore. Very rarely do I go any place where there's gloves.
It's probably,
generally they say gloves are more damaging than your hands.
Interesting.
On a lot of things. Yeah.
I would imagine because they catch.
Yeah, they can
the
catch.
fibers catch on the paper.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I still thought it was just... I still was just kind of in awe at the Bob Dylan archives. They let me hold this notebook from 1968 and flip through it and stuff with just my hands.
How weird was that?
It was very weird. Well, you flip through and find the page where he just writes, in the tomb of every man must lay the documents he has thrown away. It's like, look at the camera, just stare at it for a second.
Wow. We're going to talk more about Adam Selzer's adventures
in Tulsa.
In Tulsa, researching Bob Dylan.
It's not the easiest thing to have adventures in Tulsa. You show up on a Sunday night, and it's very like John Denver Saturday Night in Toledo, Ohio. And I have been in Saturday Night in Toledo, Ohio. The song is accurate. And Tulsa on a Sunday, finding a place that was open for dinner at 7:00 was a hike.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in your home state, well, one of your home states of Iowa, having the same experience. Let's take a break here. We're going to check in with Dan Shafer, the editor, publisher, writer for the Recombobulation Area, all things Wisconsin. We're in studio with Adam Selzer. Please follow Adam. Facebook is a great place to follow him and make sure that you're up to date on all these great tours that he does. Every single day he does a mini tour at 10 a.m., so follow him there. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
If Cage Walls Could Talk with Jody Whittaker.
Captain Paul Watson is a marine wildlife conservation and environmental activist.
And as his head rose out of the sea and his eye was there right before me, so close I could see my own reflection in that eye. That whale understood what we were trying to do because I could see the effort he made to pull himself back. And instead of crashing forward, he began to slide back to the sea as I disappeared beneath the surface, and he died. He could have killed us and chose not to. So I owe my life to that whale.
If Cage Walls Could Talk, Saturdays at 5.
Hi, this is Joan Esposito. 2024 is just about over, and we are taking a deep breath before 2025. WCPT is so grateful for our loyal listeners who've been with us day in and day out. In appreciation, WCPT is giving you a chance to win a $25 gift certificate at Fry the Coop restaurants with 9 locations throughout Chicagoland. Listen to win during my show, Richard Chu's Views, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and on Patti Vasquez, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Fry the Coop is Chicagoland's answer to Nashville Hot Chicken, a fast, casual eatery that can bring the heat. Each piece of made-to-order chicken is juicy, flavorful, and spiced to perfection, whether you want it crazy hot or no heat at all. Fry the Coop satisfies your hot chicken fix. Fry the Coop with 9 Chicagoland locations. For more information, visit frythecoop.com. Eat local fried chicken and come get your happiness.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
You know, there are moments in my life where I get to join two of my favorite human beings on the planet together. It might only be on the radio, but here we are, Adam Selzer in studio. He's a historian and tour guide, and my fellow door knocker in Kenosha, Racine, Walworth, all the places that we tried to help, this thing we try to protect called democracy. And then there's Dan Shafer, the publisher of the Recombobulation Area, joining us, who makes sure that we know about all the stories in Wisconsin and, again, how fragile our democracy is. Wisconsin is such a pivotal, really element to everything that happens in elections. Dan. How you doing tonight, Dan?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Adam, as well.
We hit to me at the Brat Stop sometime. Adam and I had some of the most magical moments at the Brat Stop. I'm not sure. You've been to the Brat Stop, surely, haven't you?
Of course.
Yeah, I do love that when the Bears lost one night that we were there, and they played Peggy Lee's "I'm Sorry." Which
you're gonna have to narrow it down on when a Bears lost exactly that you were there for.
True story.
Didn't take me long this time, Patty. Didn't take me long to get a Bears jab.
I mean, the cascade of losses is it's just hard to really pick one of my favorites. But actually, the one that Adam and I saw where they lost it in the last 30 seconds was pretty remarkable. Although, again, same thing. Okay, so
I was gonna say,
yeah, I'm trying to I can't really even grab one story out of Wisconsin, but I have to say, let's just go ahead and start with our favorite senator out of Wisconsin, and Ron Johnson.
He's such a Johnson.
He is really salivating.
I thought we only have one senator here. Her name's Tammy Baldwin. But,
correct. Yeah,
that's just me pretending.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it have been nice if Ron Johnson was offered at least an appointment, right? So that you could at least have a special election or something, some opportunity, some path to get rid of this guy.
You know, it was funny. There was a moment where people were very confused for about 30 seconds. Somebody named Ron Johnson was appointed to, I believe it was the ambassador to Mexico.
Ooh.
Or something like that. But of course there are other Ron Johnsons. It's not all that uncommon of a name. So people were like, oh, wait, is he doing this? Oh, no, it's a different guy. So,
man.
but yeah, that would be nice if we were to have another race for Senate. But
well, I think that he doesn't have enough. He's not worth enough. I mean, you have to be a 100 millionaire, or a billionaire in order to qualify, I believe, for this cabinet. Don't you think?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, maybe he needs to give himself a few more tax breaks in the Senate to really qualify for the oligarchy that this cabinet is shaping up to be.
Ambassadorships, that's generally, for a lot of places, that seems like a pretty easy gig a lot of times.
It does. It was, it's funny. Our former mayor here in the city of Milwaukee, Tom Barrett, has been the ambassador to Luxembourg for the past few years.
That doesn't seem like involving work in its busy season.
No, it does not. But we did get an update from him I think it was this past week when Nancy Pelosi was there and she had the health incident.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's every once in a while you'll just hear
I have to work?
Ambassador Tom Barrett. And it's just all right, he was the mayor of our city for 15 years. And all of a sudden he's just over in Luxembourg. Yeah.
I feel like you just stand around with a sash that says ambassador all day. And I guess it's one thing if it's a country we do a lot of trade with or have tension with or something like that. But when was the last time you worried about the situation with Luxembourg?
Right. Yeah.
I feel like you're probably dealing with more. You might even be dealing with more international relations as the mayor of Milwaukee than the ambassador to Luxembourg.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you may as well go to Mater's to get that conversation done. Isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
I do want to talk a little bit about, we started kind of a little bit lighthearted. I wanted to start with Ron Johnson because I have been talking quite a bit about school shootings this week. I was in Madison on Tuesday to do a live broadcast. It wasn't spurred by the shooting on Monday. However, we were within a mile and a half of the school, and you had one of your contributors, Jimmy Casca, who talks about raising children. You are also, and I don't want to put you on the spot because it's Christmas time and it's hard to gel this idea that we are trying to bring this magic, maintain this magic for our children's lives and really for ourselves too, tapping into our memories and what we want to share with them. And yet we know that we have raised kids in a different world than we grew up in. What are you talking to folks about in Wisconsin? I mean, for a lot of people, it's not even a matter of if a shooting is going to come to our neighborhood. It's a matter of when, right?
Yeah, it's such a sad story out of Wisconsin this week and out of Madison, and I know a lot of people, whether it's parents or teachers or what have you, are just really having a difficult time, and just for right before the holidays, and it's just a lot, and it just feels like one of those things that we just don't have the political will to solve something or try to solve something that's just protecting kids in school. It just seems like such a basic thing that we should be able to have the political will to address in some capacity. I know people are going to come at this from a lot of different angles, whether it's guns, whether it's mental health, whether it's just just safety precautions in schools and things like that. But just the fact that we haven't made any progress on dealing with it, and it's 25 years since Columbine now. And it just doesn't feel like we've made any progress. We ran a piece this week by a young writer named Tyler Kelly who works with the Wisconsin anti-violence effort. And, he's in his early to mid-20s, something like that, and he's gotten involved in, a response to school shootings. And he was talking about, the response to Sandy Hook when he was in 5th grade. And, I was thinking back to when Columbine happened when I was in middle school, and it's just we're now just having generation after generation of children growing up in this world, and it's just so defeating to see how little we're able to do about it. And people are going to have these circular arguments that seem to crop up every single time that a mass shooting or school shooting like this happens, and it's just so frustrating to see the lack of political will to get something done. I think this just kind of says something about the era that we're in, where we're not capable of solving big problems. Yeah. And this is a big problem, and we're just not doing anywhere close to enough to address it.
Some of our listeners have called in over the last few days, and pointed out that obviously we are unique in this globally. We simply are. Folks, I don't have to tell you, and they pointed to the population, right? The massive, and I mean, we don't talk necessarily about the landmass. I mean, culturally, this country, we're not like a monolithic sort of. America is an idea. We're sort of loosely tied together by our Constitution, by our interstate highways, but we are definitely tied together by our gun culture in every single friggin' state. Yeah. I think that we are more tied together by gun violence than almost, we call soda something in one state and pop in another, but we are all familiar with their gun violence erupting in a workplace, in a church, in a movie theater, in a school, and yet, like you said, and the idea, even when you say we don't have the political will, is so that is what it is. Essentially, that's what it is, because our policymakers, the people we send to D.C. or our state legislatures or our city halls, they crumble under
they crumble under redneck rule.
Yeah,
that's just this one consistent pattern in American history is rednecks are the problem. And this gets me in trouble for saying it. But
did you hear Dan trying to laugh, by the way? I heard that.
You could never underestimate the numbers or the cruelty of rednecks in this country.
Well, and living in, again, and I know that we have folks that live in rural areas. If you're not a redneck, you're not a redneck. If you're not somebody that is it's
I'm not
guns
talking,
and Bibles.
I know a lot of rich rednecks. I know a lot of urban rednecks. It's not about economics. I understand the origin of the term, but no, it's a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's something you choose to be.
And look, right, Dan, when Hillary said that they'll cling to their Bibles and guns, here's the thing: she wasn't wrong, was she?
Yeah, it was Obama said that they claimed.
Oh, was it him? Oh, she said
their
deplorables.
guns, religion, and
that's right.
anti-immigrant sentiment. And I think I think she's wrong that what they're clinging to religion-wise has anything to do with actual religion.
Well, we know that.
That's. Yeah, it's not like I'm making a clever point here.
No. I think we're operating from a point of frustration and sadness. And remind me, how old are your kids? You have one or two? I can't remember. Dan, I know I ask this every freaking time.
Yeah, two girls, eight and almost 4.
Oh! Yeah. So have you had the stories about the active shooter drills?
Yeah, I mean, those are conversations that people will have at school boards and classrooms and things like that. And it's just, it's just really frustrating that, like, that's the answer.
Right.
And not doing something about guns, doing something about other safety or addressing mental health. And that's always, like, kind of the refrain that people will bring up. And, like, I tweeted something about this week. So it was just that, 5 years ago, Wisconsin had this, this was kind of after the Parkland shooting, after a couple other shootings that happened. And our governor, Tony Evers, called a special session to address gun violence and to bring up 2 bills, one on universal background checks, one on extreme risk protection orders, which is also known as a red flag law. And these are things that polled with like 80% support and are just like, these are the majority support, like common sense things. You should have background checks. You should be able to, intervene if you think that, somebody is threatening the life of someone else or themselves. And I think that, the fact that not only did Republicans not pass the bill, obviously, they didn't even debate it. And like, we're just not even having the conversation about this, and I think it's so frustrating when people will say, "Oh, what specific gun law would address this exact shooting?" Oh my God! And I think that's the wrong way to approach this. And I think it's just about, you have to look at the big picture. And I think these red flag laws in particular, like, they have a proven track record of being able to address things like mass shootings, like self-harm, like incidents involving domestic violence. And it's just so frustrating to see that, like, even if it polls with 80% support, even if it is like a common sense thing, you still can't even have a discussion about it in a state like Wisconsin that has a Republican legislature. And it's just like, it's not just that we're not finding the solutions, we're not even having the right conversations yet. And it's just, incidents like what happened at the school in Madison this week is just another reminder of just like our lack of ability to address problems. And it's a sad saga.
It really is. And I remember when I was on WGN, like, anytime I mentioned anything about gun safety legislation, people would like criticize me for not knowing the difference between different weapons, or it was insane. And at any rate, let's turn for a moment. I know I want to make sure we talk about other work that's at the Recombobulation Area. Folks, you need to follow Dan Shafer on Blue Sky and subscribe to the Substack with all the great work he and his journalists do. We've talked about the surplus that you have in Wisconsin. So what are we up to now for the Wisconsin surplus? Last I think it was like $5 billion, $7 billion.
Yeah, the latest estimates came in a couple months ago now, saying that we have a $4 billion surplus in the state of Wisconsin. That is not, and I think some people say like, oh, it's this is a great thing, and that we have this, and we have an opportunity to do blah 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 blah. I think it's also just reflection of just how much we've underfunded certain things over the years, particularly, education in Wisconsin, going back to the Walker years, like those cuts to education, cuts to local government, and that's a piece that we published today. Yep. At the Recombobulation Area. Those are the types of things. It's not that we have this surplus as just like that came out of nowhere as a one-time thing. This surplus exists on the back of certain cuts to local government, cuts to schools, cuts to so many different things in public policy across Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you'll have these municipalities that have shortfalls in their budgets, and like you said, it's because they're being choked off. And whether it's and the same, by the way, just so you know, in Illinois, we are facing a $3.1 billion shortfall, like gap in our budget coming up in the spring session, and a lot of it has to do a lot of different things, whether it's social services, public safety. It's the education element that, and we are different from Wisconsin, because in Wisconsin they divert a lot of their money to voucher school programs, whether it's charter schools or parochial schools, and that has a humongous impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the public school advocates will say that we can't fund two different school systems. Like, that means you're not funding either of them,
yeah.
Right? Or whether it's like the vouchers and the charters and things like that. So yeah, I think that, the way things work in Wisconsin is we have an election year and then we have a budget year. And so we're looking ahead to 2025, which, it's Wisconsin. There's still a few very high profile, very important elections that we're going to be paying attention to over the next few months.
I know.
But it's, looking ahead at the budget year, and now that we have, smaller Republican majorities where there might be a couple swing votes, things like that with fair maps that we have in the state, like it's going to be interesting to see if they can perhaps strike a different type of bargain to fund schools and to fund education, and to do something with that $4 billion surplus that's right now just sitting there, even as, schools all over the state. I think, we had like over 100 referenda passed in kind of like community after community in the state of Wisconsin to fund schools. At the same time, the state is sitting on this just like massive pile of cash and doing nothing with it. So,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
Well, and as Dan mentioned, that's a result of the super majority the Republicans had. So I want to come back to something, because I have to engage Adam again in the spring to go back to Wisconsin with me to go door knocking for the Supreme Court. We did make a difference, Adam.
Yeah, we saw the numbers in Wisconsin were better than they were other places anyway.
Yeah, and 10 General Assembly seats is remarkable, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, Wisconsin voted to the left of Michigan and Pennsylvania for the first time since 1988. We picked up 4 state Senate seats and 10 state Assembly seats. The Democrats did in this election. So, there are Tammy Baldwin won again. So there were some bright spots, despite not so great night in November for Democrats in Wisconsin. So, but yeah, we've got that state Supreme Court seat on the horizon. And I think that coming right on the heels of a major decision on Act 10, on the law that Scott Walker and the Republicans passed, stripping rights to collectively bargain away from public sector employees. That got struck down, and from what I've been hearing from people, like that's a very significant ruling that came through. It's not just one of these, there's been so many legal challenges to that law over the years. But this one took a different approach to it and challenged the law on the basis of equal protection, because the law basically split all of Wisconsin's public sector employees into 2 groups. So there was the public safety, public sector employees, and the general employees. Well, it just so happens like that was split almost exactly down the lines of which group endorsed Scott Walker in 2010.
Wow.
So every public sector union that endorsed Scott Walker in 2010 was exempt from like the changes of Act 10 of losing your rights to collectively bargain, and now like not, basically having a pretty significant pay and benefits cut. Pension cut for a lot of those public sector employees didn't apply to the police and fire unions that endorsed Scott Walker, but applied to teachers, lots of other public sector employees in the state. So that does seem to be have a real chance of making it so that law is indeed struck down, and that's going to be a critical conversation, critical issue in that Wisconsin Supreme Court race to maintain a pro-democracy liberal majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court that people fought so hard for over the last few years, kind of culminating in that election in spring of 2023 where Janet Protasiewicz won by a 10-point margin.
Oof, wow. So, Adam, are you ready to gear up and go back to Wisconsin with me?
I guess we're going to have to, aren't we?
Well, here's the thing, because we need to get people out. We can go to Milwaukee, too, and we can tip one back with Dan Shafer, is all I'm saying.
There we go.
You think we can go to that weird neighborhood with all of where everything's named after a zodiac sign and it all just reeked of the 70s and Quaaludes?
That was amazing. Oh, my God, Dan. Dan, there was was that Racine County? I can't remember.
I think it was that vicinity.
I think it was Racine County. There was there was a subdivision that all the streets were named after zodiac signs. It was pretty wild, and the houses were beautiful. It was rolling hills.
The neighborhood was named after some particular star. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but some particular star that I believe was a part of the Taurus constellation.
It was wild.
And everything in it was all very mid-century 1970s style homes. The developers must have been so high.
I was going to say, the people who came up with that must have been enjoying themselves.
Oh, yeah. Quaaludes for days, I'm sure.
We'll have to send some photos. I'm sure we can get the coordinates of where we were.
I got pictures, but the pictures just don't really capture it.
No, it was glorious. So we'll just share some of those, and maybe we'll have to take Dan on a road trip with us to Racine to go door knocking, or at least report on it, observe it. And enjoy the adventure. Dan Shafer, thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful Christmas for your family, holiday season. Everyone, for your holidays, why don't you subscribe to the Recombobulation Area Substack? Maybe purchase one as a gift to somebody else, so they're well informed of what's going on to the north of us. Because as Wisconsin goes, honestly, I think it bodes for the rest of the country as to how we're going to withstand the next 4 years. But let's get to work on the next few months in Wisconsin. Thank you so much, Dan Shafer. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Be well.
All right, you too. Take care. We'll talk to you when you can. I know it's a busy season. All right, bye, my friend. Let's take a break here. When we continue, we'll have some phone calls and texts to get to. Adam Selzer joins us in studio. He's a writer, historian, tour guide here in Chicago. Go to
MysteriousChicago.com.
And Adam Chicago anymore?
Adam Chicago links to the same place. It's just easier to say. Tonight, 8 o'clock, if you're still awake, I'm doing a Women at Graceland Cemetery virtual tour.
Hello. All right. I have to get home after the show. 8 o'clock, Women of Graceland Cemetery over by there by Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I keep finding new stories there.
That's fantastic. There's a lot of people in there.
There's a lot of people there. Somehow I missed that the first sportswoman to be on the cover of Time magazine is there. She's inspired a character in The Great Gatsby.
Oh, fantastic.
And she's kind of right near Minnie Minoso, too. She's with all the other athletes.
Let's talk about that when we come back.
Let's do that.
WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. Oh, and I have a Fry the Coop gift card to give away shortly. Not yet. Don't call yet, because I have to get a number from Lady B after this on WCPT.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy skies tonight with a little bit of light snow developing, a dusting up to an inch of accumulation with a low of 29. Snow on Friday with a dusting up to an inch of snowfall and a high around 35 degrees. Saturday, partly sunny with a high temperature around 28 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high around 32. On Monday, we'll see rain, a little bit of freezing rain early in the day with a high around 39. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 33.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
The badassery in us has to come out. It just does. Shake off the fear, shake off the worry, and be ready to do something, like Mrs. Obama said. Now we really have to do something. And the number one thing is connect with each other and be strong and support those who we care about and make sure that we are moving forward and protecting this
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute. On my YouTube channel, I recently talked to Amanda Clayman, a financial therapist and an all-around excellent person. We talked about how to reduce money anxiety, and her advice was really helpful. She said, unless we have a time to do money, we don't have a time to not do money. Meaning, if we set aside some time to think about and manage our money, it lets our brains stop worrying about money all the time. For example, I have a monthly money meeting with myself, which lowers my money anxiety and helps keep me on top of my finances. If you don't already, set and keep that money meeting with yourself. It'll help your wallet and your peace of mind. Remember what Amanda said, unless you have a time to do money, you don't have a time to not do money. For more everyday money tips, check out workmoney.org. Till next time, this is Carrie Joy saying, take good care.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Real quick, Adam, pick a number between 1 and 5.
6.
I don't think you know how these numbers go.
1.
Oh, caller number 1. This is okay. I'm gonna wait for Lady B to get back to the. Do not call right now. Wait till Lady B is fixing our video right now. Let's take a call from a listener. Adam Selzer joins us in studio. He's an author, a historian, tour guide, one of my best friends. He has a tour coming up, a virtual tour tonight, coming up at 8:00. The Women of Graceland Cemetery.
Yep.
He's the author of. Is it the History of Graceland?
Graceland Cemetery: Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets. And now I've started work on Volume 2.
Excellent. I hope Minnie Minoso makes it in the book too.
Oh, he will definitely be in book
Really?
2. Definitely.
Well, I mean, this is my little story about my little.
Absolutely. That's been. I've been featuring that on the tours. People love that story, Patti.
So we'll tell us. Let's do our phone calls because I want to keep people on hold. So I'm teasing you with our story about Graceland and Minnie Minoso and a 10-year-old girl who had got a new hero that she didn't even know she needed. Let's get to Victor is in Salem, Oregon, calling to talk about gun legislation. Hey, Victor, you're on with me and Adam Selzer. Hey.
My favorite comedian.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are so good and so funny. I just keep rolling on the floor.
Thank you.
Well, the reason I called is your guest that was on said that America does not have the political will to pass simple background checks or get rid of assault rifles. Well, when Columbine took place, I was 50 years old then. And I've been following gun legislation all these years. And one thing I've really noticed that stands out is that Democrats have tried to put forward over 200 pieces of legislation since that time to get just simple background checks. And then to get rid of assault rifles, too. But every single piece of legislation that's come up before Congress, the Republicans have blocked every single measure. And the reason is they're on the payroll of the gun manufacturers and the NRA. You know, Mitt Romney got $14 million one year from the NRA. Vladimir Putin, during 2016, for the Trump campaign, shoved in $100 million to the NRA. $30 million was to go to Donald Trump's campaign. So here's the problem. We will never have background checks because no matter how many children get killed or slaughtered or heads blown off, because Republicans will never give up their NRA check for background checks, period. That's the truth. And one last thing. The reason why Donald Trump and the Republicans want to privatize the post office is the same reason why they put in that corrupt, crooked Louis DeJoy as head of the post office. And the reason is twice as many Democrats vote by mail than Republicans. Now, if they privatize it, they can control the voting, the ballots, and we know how they take away, people's votes. They toss them out the window for no reason. I think actually Kamala Harris won the election. The margins were very close, and we had Elon Musk sinking in $300 million to steal the election. And it doesn't take much money if you offer an election official $1 million to toss out 100,000 votes. I'm afraid that's the way the Republicans operate. It's always blackmail. It's always extortion. And that's what we've seen from Donald Trump and the Republicans ever since, I don't know, since 2016, when the devil was let loose out of Mar-a-Lago, the lair of the beast. And
Florida.
Yeah, really.
It's the same. And now, especially minorities are really going to be in big trouble, black and brown and Asian people, because Donald Trump has emboldened these people, white supremacists and Nazis, to go out and do whatever they want, commit violent acts against minorities, just like he took Kyle Rittenhouse and brought him down to Mar-a-Lago after he was exonerated for shooting two individual. I think they were black people that were.
I believe one was. I don't know. I know one guy at least was white.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, they were unarmed, and he blew the arm off of the third person, and the corrupt and crooked judge was able to scare the hell out of the juries in the trial by saying that people were following them around, which was such a joke. You know, Schroeder of Wisconsin should never have done that, Judge Schroeder. You know, so, and then now during the Army-Navy game, what does Donald Trump do? He takes Danny Penny, who was found not guilty after choking the death out of a black guy on a subway. You know, it only takes 15 seconds to knock for a person to be left unconscious. But he held that death threat on this poor individual who is suffering from mental illness, obviously, and for 6 minutes, enough to kill him.
Right.
And more than enough. And so what he does? Donald Trump invites him to the Army-Navy game. This is such a...
We're an upside down. By the way, Victor, I know you're very passionate about all these things. I do want to tell you that all of the shooting victims all of the men that Kyle Rittenhouse shot were white men. However, the instigating incident was a Black Lives Matter march and protest.
Right, that was a march for black protest.
Correct.
Again,
in the wake of a police situation for someone who was, I believe, it was a domestic violence situation, and they thought that he had a weapon in his car, and that's why they shot him multiple times.
Right, in the back.
Yeah.
They thought he was reaching for a knife. They shot him 12 times, and he survived. Thank God. But you know. That's what we're facing. I think this is going to be 10 times worse now under Donald Trump, I'm afraid.
Victor, what kind of, I know that you said you've been following this a lot. I want to stress for folks to also pace themselves, because this is going to be a long, it's not even just 4 years. It's going to be a long haul from here on out. What are you doing to take care of yourself, Victor?
Well,
going for walks? Are you listening to music?
I walk every day. Exercise is good. Eat properly. You know, not too much fast foods, and you know, try to maintain a good weight. And I've never seen a doctor. I'm 75, and I'm still in good shape. I had an accident. I need a new knee replacement, but
how do you manage that without seeing a doctor?
How are you going to manage?
Everybody's got problems, Patty.
I know.
Yeah, but you can't just get your new knees at Target. The doctor has to put those in.
Exactly. But I don't.
Well, you gotta find a specialist to get that done, so they can do a whole workup on you.
No, I know a guy.
You got a guy?
I know a guy. Don't worry, I know a guy.
Well, Victor,
that's great.
I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself, and I appreciate your passion. I'm so glad that you called today to share your perspective, and I look forward to hearing from you again. I hope that you have a good holiday season, my friend.
You too, and wish everyone a merry holiday or Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever, you know?
A Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yep. I appreciate it.
Baby, relax.
Relax. See deeper. Ooh, we'll do a little meditation music. We'll meditate together. How's that?
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you so much, Victor. Be well.
You guys.
Take care. Thank you.
Good job. Great job.
I appreciate it. Let's
Freedom fighter.
Freedom fighter. Viva la resistance. All right, let's take a break here. Yep. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm in studio with guest co-host Adam Selzer, author, historian, and tour guide. Tonight, his tour is the Women of Graceland Cemetery.
Yeah.
And you can follow him on mysteriouschicago.com, and there'll be links to that tour, which is also available on Facebook. Join the group, join the club, and you'll see us at the MysterioCon next September.
Yeah.
Last weekend of September, everybody.
Yep.
I'm going to have my book done. One of them, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. More after this.
This is an important announcement for anyone who wants health insurance, even if you missed a deadline. Right now, you can get the health insurance you and your family need from top insurance providers, even if you have pre-existing conditions or no insurance at all. The Plus Benefits Health Insurance toll-free number has been extended to help anyone who wants health insurance coverage now, or if you need a better plan or a lower price. Call Plus Benefits Health Insurance now at 800-378-1388. The call is 100% free and the help is real. Call 800-378-1388. That's 800-378-1388.
Fry the Coop is the destination for hot chicken in Chicagoland. Founded in November 2017, founder Joe Fontana is true to the Southern original with a Midwest touch. Heat or no heat, featuring fried chicken sandwiches, tenders, and chicken and waffles. And now, 6, 12, or 30-piece nuggets that deliver happiness with every crunchy bite. Fry the Coop never uses seed oils. They fry all of their menu items in 100% beef tallow. Stop by Fry the Coop today and try one of their 6 heat levels: country, no heat; mild, medium, hot, crazy, and insanity. Fry the Coop has 9 locations throughout the Chicagoland area: Oak Lawn, Chicago, Westtown, Portage Park, and Lincoln Park; Elmhurst, Darien, Prospect Heights, Tinley Park, and Bolingbrook. Open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 8. For more information, please visit frythecoop.com. Eat local fried chicken and come get your happiness.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
I was just asking our guest co-host, Adam Selzer, are we doing budget or healthcare? Our callers are calling about the budget. One's calling about the healthcare. We'll go with budget.
Party. There's going to be a party either way. Let's go, Jim.
Jim, you've been chosen to be our next caller on the air.
Let's budget it up.
What's up, Jim?
Thanks, Patty. The White Sox, the Sox fans used to refer to Minnie as Marvelous Minnie Minoso. That was what we called him. Marvelous Minnie.
That's right.
But I was going to say that Musk apparently doesn't like this budget, so he told Trump to ditch this budget.
The real president-elect.
The real one.
Yeah.
And they got till midnight tomorrow. What do you think the odds are? I think you're going to shut it down. What do you guys think?
I think they're going to shut it down.
Yeah, they're going to shut it down,
Yeah, they're going to shut it down. And congratulations to everyone that voted for him, including the farmers, who are not going to have their part of the budget included. Yeah.
Right. And another thing is Tommy Tuberville said that this is after this ridiculous thing about, I saw Fox, there was a couple of cutouts, that what's in our food. Well, Tommy Tuberville said, I want to cut food stamps. So apparently the people who have food stamps don't have to worry about food because they won't have any food to worry what's in the food. You know what I mean? So that's their answer to that.
Guess who benefits from the people, from not just the people who receive the food stamps and the ability to purchase food. It's also the food suppliers, including ag and farmers, the supply chain.
Everybody, Patty.
Everybody. Walmart makes a killing on SNAP.
Yeah, well, it's a perfect way to distribute food to the poor. It's just a perfect way to do it. And why they want to fool around with that, I don't know. But
I have a pretty good idea.
Anything to reflect damage on anybody who's in difficult circumstances, it seems to be their call. But I think they're going to shut it down and carry on from there. I don't know. what it'll look like. But will this register with these 72 million people that voted for this insane person?
I know.
When will it register with these people?
Never. I mean, I think that 90% of them will be. Look, I was telling someone this today. Matt McNeil, I did an interview with him today, and he was saying the same thing. Like he was, when are they going to figure it out? And they're going to find out, like the fart around and find out portion of this.
Yeah.
It's never going to resonate. It's never going to soak in, because if they didn't absorb the fact that the loss of life, that the spread of COVID was squarely on the shoulders of Donald Trump, who underplayed it, said it was going to go away, that we could inject bleach, that we could just,
they've got such weird explanations for what he really meant by that.
Oh, I don't care. If you look at the numbers of fatalities in the United States, in contrast to the rest of the world, like they don't care. And many of them died. So no, it doesn't matter. So
yeah, but the demonization of the Democratic Party is absolutely fascinating to me. I can't remember a time in history where they were demonized in this regard. The Christian right are demonizing Democrats morning, noon, and night. Of course, they're funded by the Koch.
That's been going on a while.
Yeah,
but they're funded by the Koch network. But how would a person who says they believe in God take money from the Kochs?
Because they don't. These guys like Mike Huckabee, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, all of the televangelists, they do not believe in God one bit. And I don't mean they're not living up to what they preach. I mean they laugh whenever somebody puts a buck in the collection plate.
Yep.
Everything heavy metal singers told me about those guys when I was a kid was completely correct.
You're right, Adam.
Yeah.
You're right.
But thanks.
Anyway, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Let's get to Margot. Margot's calling. Are you calling from Maryland, Margot? How are you doing?
Fine, and I really liked your last caller's comments about food stamps and how it's going to destroy jobs. And I wanted to echo the same with Medicaid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Medicaid also provides jobs for people who work for, organizations that provide Medicaid services for other people. And just wanted to know, can anything be done either at the state level, whether it's Illinois or Maryland, or at the federal level, to codify Medicaid before Donald Trump takes office, or could Biden sign an executive order? And I just have one other quick question, and then I'll take my answers off the air. I think one time you were talking about people with disabilities, and how sometimes their parents try to set up these small businesses for them, but it doesn't always work. I just wanted to say one way to make it work is to try to get people to maybe support those businesses.
Yeah.
They can work and are viable, and I'll take all my answers off the air. Thank you so much.
I don't have great news about cutting Medicaid to Margot's question, because when he returns to the White House and Republicans will be in full control of Congress in 2025, the Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion. So just the Medicaid expansion is pretty much on the chopping block, I think, pretty swiftly. And there are 9 states that have language in our legislation that basically says that we will not fund it. So we have, and that includes Illinois. Maryland is not one of them, but Illinois, Arizona, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Utah, and Virginia. We have trigger laws that would swiftly end the Medicaid expansion if federal funding falls below a certain level. So you have, it's about 3 million people across the country that will immediately lose access to health care. So that's just out of the gate. So Adam, that's why you didn't want to take health care first.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's terrifying. So Margot, you're still on the line, so I just want to tell you that I'm sorry. I think that there, I don't know what the legislature.
I can hang up if you want me to.
No, but I mean, like, but on the one hand, Maryland is not one of those states, and you guys have Medicaid expansion in your state. Is that right, Margot?
Yeah, but I'm concerned about people in other states.
Oh yeah, there's 9 of us, and I have not heard a single word from a single legislator in my state that has, and this is a blue state, because we have a $3.1 billion shortfall already happening. If Dr. Oz takes over the MCMs, and they wanted to, here's what they want to do in 2025. I think that the way I remember it is that the Affordable Care Act is going to stay the way it is through 2025. They plan to change. What I've heard is the funding. Right now, people at the lowest level of coverage are paying about 9% of their income toward their health care. They want to raise it to 20% of people who are living at poverty rates. So there's a lot of work to be done to make sure people know about that, Margot.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course, please.
The ARC has a campaign, ARC, to fight for Medicaid.
Excellent.
People can look into that. And thank you so much. Bye.
Of course, Margot. Well, we're going to keep fighting, Margot. Have a good evening. Let's take a break here. We'll come back in just a minute. We're going to talk about all of Adam's work. We're going to talk about the Graceland Cemetery book that he's got out, the tour tonight, what's coming up, and a lot of other things. Yeah. Sounds good. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
Whether you get pulled over or get into a crash, drinking and driving will change your whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. After scuttling a stopgap spending bill negotiated by Republican and Democrat congressional leaders, President-elect Trump today hailed a new GOP bill. The House now debating it. Oklahoma Republican Tom Cole.
I know there's great frustration that a second continuing resolution is necessary, and quite frankly, I share in that feeling. But a government shutdown is never a good alternative.
But fellow Republican Chip Roy of Texas is upset.
What we're doing right now is to continue to double down on the things that are destroying the republic. We are going to increase the debt ceiling, not just $4 trillion, that's false. We have spent $4.7 trillion in additional debt in the last 19 months. We're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion. That's what's going to happen right here by Republicans.
Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
We are going to continue to fight for everyday Americans. That is why we are voting no on this bill, and to stop this reckless, regressive, and reactionary Republican shutdown, vote no.
The man arrested in the killing of United Healthcare's CEO is being held without bail after an appearance in federal court in New York. Luigi Mangione facing charges including a death-eligible murder count. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says it deported more than 270,000 people to 192 countries over a recent 12-month period, the highest annual tally in a decade. And lots of economic news today, an upgrade to the estimate of third-quarter economic growth. The Commerce Department puts it at a 3.1% annual clip. Home sales hit their fastest pace since March, with more properties up for sale. The National Association of Realtors reports sales of previously occupied homes rose 4.8% in November. Mortgage rates rose. Freddie Mac puts the average 30-year at 6.72%. This is AP News. On the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu, the number of people killed and missing remains unclear 2 days after a magnitude 7.3 earthquake. Charles De La Desma reports on rescue efforts.
The worst hit area is Port Villa's downtown, while some outlying islands and villages near the quake's epicenter have experienced landslides. Infrastructure damage has been extensive, including to hospitals, roads, buildings, 2 major water reservoirs and gas pipes. Response efforts have been hampered by access problems. A massive landslide has blocked the seaport, limiting the transport of essential supplies and personnel, the UN humanitarian agency says. But risk of more serious slips has grown due to fears of further extreme weather. A low-pressure system moving toward Vanuatu threatens a low to medium chance of a cyclone, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, and more rain's expected. I'm Charles De La Desma.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy skies tonight with a little bit of light snow developing, a dusting up to an inch of accumulation with a low of 29. Snow on Friday with a dusting up to an inch of snowfall and a high around 35 degrees. Saturday, partly sunny with a high temperature around 28 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high around 32. On Monday, we'll see rain, a little bit of freezing rain early in the day with a high around 39. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 34.
Make this season even brighter by lighting up every drive with the unrivaled performance of a new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Stop in today to test drive the latest models, including a new 2025 Porsche Cayenne. And right now, lease a new 2025 Macan Electric for $999 a month for 39 months. Visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. 8,609 due at signing. Excludes tax, title, license, and dock fee. No security deposit required. Expires 1/2/25.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us, and hello to our friends listening in the evening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. So thrilled to have you join us. I'm, of course, broadcasting here from Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, the progressive voice of Chicago. And you can hear us anywhere that you are in the world, because you can have it, on your TuneIn app, on Facebook, on Twitter. Oh, now on YouTube, by the way. We are now broadcasting on YouTube. You can watch the video live. That's why we were fixing your camera there, Adam Selzer.
Okay.
Because we now have a YouTube channel. Adam Selzer joins me in studio, one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He's an author, historian, a tour guide, and a monster door knocker with me. We were in Wisconsin relentlessly for months, and still proud of the work that we did.
I am, yeah.
We'll go back. I didn't think have you been to Mater's in Wisconsin?
Mater's.
It's a historic German restaurant. We must go there. We'll go door knocking. We go to Mater's. Maybe we get an Airbnb, or maybe we drive back. We always take a train back. We'll figure it out.
Diner in Kenosha.
Oh my God, wasn't that amazing? I can't even remember the name of that diner.
Frankie's?
That sounds right. Frank's is an old, it's like an old train car.
Yeah.
That was amazing. The best restaurants, the best,
They eat well, and you eat like kings.
Yes.
In Wisconsin.
One of my favorite things when we were door knocking was meeting up with you for the Racine Cemetery to find the guy who made the malt shakes.
Yeah.
The creator of the malt shakes in Wisconsin.
Yeah, malt powder. Yeah.
Malt powder. And you have several books about cemeteries, and right now you're working on your second Graceland Cemetery book.
Yeah, I've started taking notes on who else I could add. Some of it is the last few years since the work on the last book wrapped. We've done Find a Grave Friday every Friday, and sometimes that'll be a Graceland. And, continually find interesting new people there. Most interesting the last couple of weeks is I was looking up the Mitchells. There was this couple who died in the same car wreck when their chauffeur tried to avoid another car wreck caused by Leo the Ghost Mongovan, who was one of our lesser-known gangsters, but he was popping around in and out and faking his death and getting away with it for a long time. And finally died in the 80s.
What?
So, yeah, it's a long story, but this couple's son had been rushed into a marriage with a woman named Ginevra King. These were all very high society people, but Ginevra
you're high society.
Yeah. Well, she had been dating this writer, and she was Find a Grave Friday subject last week. She had been dating a writer or 2 weeks ago. Been dating. He was a Yale man, but it was long distance, and he was going to be a writer. He came to visit her in Lake Forest, and her father made a point of being overheard saying, "Poor boy shouldn't think of marrying a rich girl."
Ooh.
And so that kind of ended that. She was rushed into a marriage with William Mitchell. Anyway, that writer was F. Scott Fitzgerald.
What?
And Ginevra was the model for Daisy Buchanan and several other F. Scott Fitzgerald characters. So in a lot of ways, William Mitchell, who is in this now in the family mausoleum, is the real Tom Buchanan from Great Gatsby. Though it's generally said that he was based, that Tom, Daisy's husband, was based a little more on Ginevra's father, who had polo ponies and everything, and he in fact is a Graceland.
What?
Ginevra herself eventually remarried into the Carson Peary Scott family, Mr.
Wow.
the Pearys.
Ain't so bad.
Yeah, but her best friend Edith, is the granddaughter of Columbus R. Cummings, the railroad tycoon. He was the president of the Nickel Plate Railroad. He's at Graceland. I've only talked about him in relation to his niece/adopted daughter who married a German baron who then killed a guy at Redpath Saloon. Developed a taste for the lowlife.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that in the same plot as Edith, who is the model for Jordan, a character in The Great Gatsby, the golfer.
Okay.
She herself was the first sportswoman on the cover of Time magazine. One of the first 3 or 4 women on the cover of Time magazine at all. It was a very new magazine at the time. And, big high society type. But then there's a great interview with her from the 1980s, soon before her death, talking about being in the Red Cross in Britain during the Blitz and these German bombs that she described as like witches on broomsticks flying in. And there's a great quote in it where she says, "I think it would be really entertaining just for a while to meet a truly vulgar person." And it's like, oh, I love this person.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, the high society stuff always seems so distant and unimportant to me. But like most high society women, she married and got involved in various philanthropies and continued hosting parties for her old friends, for Ginevra and everybody. But it's how did I miss that there was a Great Gatsby character? 3 of them at Graceland Cemetery, right very nearby each other as well. So it's one of these things. There's 175,000 people there. I had left out the Mitchells. You can note that they have the same date of death on the outside of the mausoleum. I decided not to put that in the book because that's just too sad. But I didn't realize there was a gangster involved in it.
I mean, and that's your...
And then after the gangster, we get into the whole Great Gatsby thing. I was just looking at the record there because their other son, Jack, has no known interment place.
Oh.
And which probably just means he was scattered, and he could have been in the family mausoleum. He would have had a right to be, and it's not like he didn't have the money for a burial place of his own. He founded United Airlines.
What in the freaking frack is going on at Graceland Cemetery?
Yeah, well, a lot of money in these names that retain a slight coppery odor.
No kidding. How long did F. Scott Fitzgerald spend? How long was he in Chicago?
He wasn't there for long. He went to Lake Forest to visit her. We don't know how long or exactly what all he did there.
Right.
But, there was, even now you go around Lake Forest, it's like, these are all murder mystery houses. You just drive around, like pick out which would the weapon be. This is a poison house, rifle house.
Oh, my God.
Hunting knife house. This is the lead pipe one.
That's
then poison,
so
poison.
All basically a version of Clue.
Yeah, they all look like the house from Knives Out or something.
That's amazing. Someday I have to. Did you ever meet Erica Nicole Clark, Mr. T's daughter?
No.
Oh, you have to meet her because she obviously grew up in Lake Forest and has some. She just posted a thing today where her mother used to call her the name of the girl that was the star of The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
The black and white movie from the 1950s. She basically was the black version of that. So I mean, raised in Lake Forest, and we'll tell you the stories of what happened when he wanted to cut those trees down.
Okay.
So we'll have to get you guys together.
I have heard the tree story a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
And one thing, when I was digging through, I'm always a little unclear and a little nervous about talking about stuff that I found in the Bob Dylan archives. But there was a note page from the 1970s where he just will write down like half a verse or an idea or a word.
Right.
And one of them I found the phrase "I pity the fool."
No way. Yeah. Holy cats.
Well before Mr. T would have said it.
But he never put it into a song?
Didn't put it into a song, no.
How funny is that?
That's kind of a thing. There's a recording session from 1965 where he says, I can't even.
I can't even.
Yeah, I can't even.
Come on.
Decades before that was a thing. There's a draft of Subterranean Homesick Blues where he says, keep it on the down low, and that's decades before that appears in print.
Wow. That's crazy. Keep it on the down low, on the DL.
Yeah. You thought that? I would think that keep it on the down low was an older phrase than it was, but it doesn't really start occurring in print until into the 90s.
Does someone like that sort of make you think that there's something else going on energy wise?
You kind of have to wonder. Well, it doesn't just come to him like out of nowhere. There's one thing going through the drafts. I mean, he's writing constantly. I mean, there's drafts that I found in the archives that are several that are like inside of matchbooks or on the back of a parking ticket or margins of a newspaper. Like entire most of the Street Legal album was written on stationery he swiped from his kids. You can see it's got their names on it.
Man, I wonder how when did, I don't know when stationery in hotels started.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you.
There's a lot of it on hotel stationery.
I was going to say, I wonder
which
how
is
many.
interesting because then we can you can look at his tour schedule and see when he would have been there. It's like, so that's the night that he wrote that song.
Isn't that
or
wild?
the night that he wrote down that draft anyway. And that's something I was kind of surprised they haven't really done a lot of that detective work there. Because they've got, the stuff is ordered in what they call creator order. It's the order that it came in. But there's definitely stuff that's way out of chronology.
And what are you working on in terms of Bob Dylan's story?
Well, in that case, I was starting with trying to find out what the connection would be between. He's made a few movies, most of which you can't get anymore. They weren't particularly successful. They're very bizarre. But he was also usually writing and working on an album at the same time. And we got curious about like how could they have interfered with each other, because there's going to be a lot of crossover. And there's some, but for the most part, he compartmentalized pretty well, as it turns out. But just in the process of it, there were so many things that I noticed in the course of researching, so many different themes that I saw coming up, and so many different, like one little document that turns around what we thought about something.
Sure.
But but it's definitely, you do kind of wonder if there's something that he picks up on the rest of us don't energy wise, but that's also, it doesn't just beam in from nowhere. He works.
Right.
I mean, you can see him going through all these draft after draft after draft of these songs.
It's like it's one thing to be a funnel for the universe. It's another to be interpreting it.
Yeah.
To put it down and to feel it, to be mindful of what you're experiencing.
Yeah, there's a review of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations that I often cite. It's like somebody said Dickens has finally mastered a gift that formerly mastered him.
Oh.
And I think that's very good. As a lot of times it's just like he seems like he's got all this coming in, but he's not editing it.
Right.
And I think there was recently a book comparing Charles Dickens to Prince. And I kept wanting him to cite that review because that's the same thing. Prince, I think, would just put out thing after thing after thing after thing, and there's hundreds and hundreds of unreleased Prince albums in the vaults. They could release another Prince album every couple of months for hundreds of years.
Right.
But a lot of times I listen to it as like, he should have gone through 3 or 4 more drafts of this song.
Right.
So he's onto something here, but he was just plowing through it so fast.
Right. So, and fortunate for us that we got the ones that kind of rose to the occasion of, whether.
Oh yeah, we got. He put more effort into Purple Rain.
Right.
And you can tell.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, you mentioned that tonight's tour, by the way, it's Adam Selzer. You can go to mysteriouschicago.com.
Yep. Or it'll all be on the Mysterious Chicago Facebook page. It's free to tune in. It's a virtual tour. You can do it from anywhere.
And tips are appreciated.
Of course.
There's a QR code right there for you to help out.
There's my Venmo and PayPal and the Patreon are up there the whole time.
And so tonight's the Women of Graceland Cemetery.
Women of Graceland Cemetery. So I do a lot of different subsets of stories at Graceland Cemetery. We've got like the Underground Railroad at Graceland Cemetery. Mm-hmm. We've got true crime at Graceland Cemetery. And there's enough material that I can do several Women at Graceland ones, which is good because I can bounce around. It's kind of incongruous to have me up there telling the stories, but we're a one-person operation, folks.
Now, you mentioned, we've talked a little bit about, and I was so excited that you triggered a memory for me when we were, so every Friday night, folks, Adam Selzer and I do Whiskey and a Cookie, and we invariably will have Esmeralda Leon, my former co-worker at WGN, Elliot Serrano, Scott Santos, but generally it's me and Adam at this point. But he was talking about the new monument to Minnie Minoso at Graceland Cemetery, and it sparked a memory for me because I played Little League Baseball right over here on the northwest side at Norwood Park. And when I was in, I want to say, I don't know if it was my first or second year, so it was either 1979 or 1980, and Minnie Minoso came to our park, spoke to the kids, and then offered to do autographs, and everyone was given a little baseball card, a black and white baseball card of him, and it was a white. You have a picture. I sent you the picture, and I think it was one of Bill Veck's sort of theme nights or theme days, where it was the old fashioned black and white, like the sort of pinstripes, and so all the kids. It was almost all. It was actually all boys, but me in this crowd with our hands up trying to get an autograph, and Minnie Minoso reached over the boys to get my baseball card, and he said, "Don't ever let them tell you can't play." And I didn't remember that until you mentioned his monument. And I mean, I think about I just would think, oh, I have his autograph, but I didn't think of that moment, like that. Really, he wasn't like on my radar as like I was a Cubs fan, right? You know, and so the Sox. But why is Minnie Minoso a lifelong playing? Was it 5 or 6 decades they put him in?
That's what I knew him as when I was a kid. He was the guy who played in more decades than any other player, and now and then they put him in again to like take an at bat in the 80s and the 90s, just so he could extend his record some.
So why is he buried? It's so funny. He's buried so close to Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
I mean, that's hysterical.
Well, there's. I guess they just liked it better there than at Oak Woods or something. You'd have to ask. You know, I never ask the family what they're thinking.
Not the family, sure.
You know, I mean, I never ask who is involved in what they're thinking. But he got a really prime location at Graceland Cemetery too.
Really?
He is right on the pond.
Oh,
that's about as good. That's about as prime real estate as you can get at Graceland Cemetery. He's right next to Potter and Bertha Palmer.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
from the Palmer House, folks.
You pass Potter and Bertha Palmer, who like every half of the Impressionist paintings at the Art Institute are from Bertha's collection, and then you've got the Deerings and the McCormicks, then Minnie Minoso.
Right.
And then Harlow Higginbotham, who was the credit manager at Marshall Fields and hosted Arthur Conan Doyle at his house.
Oh, come on.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, nice. Congratulations, Minnie.
Minnie. It is really prime real estate.
I can't wait to see it. And so thank you. I'm glad that you tell that story because it was really a sweet moment.
Oh, yeah. People love that story, too.
It's fantastic.
And I love it when I can do like a personal story about the people, too. It's kind of unusual. A lot of these people, nobody remembers, has an anecdote about Columbus R. Cummings for me. Sure. Whereas, I do meet people who have a great story about Ernie Banks or something.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, you and I saw Ronnie Woo Woo when we were at the Broad Stop of all things.
I ran into Ronnie Woo Woo at like Roger Ebert's funeral in full uniform.
Okay.
And just wandering around the Broad Stop to see who he got recognized, I think.
Wow.
Which of course he did.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So the next book is the book. All of your books are available online.
Oh yeah, you can find them online.
Where do you prefer to send folks to find out more about your work?
Wherever books are sold. It's all fishes comes to my net.
There you go. So obviously all of them are available on Amazon. We received.
If I say anything other than Amazon, the next question is going to be, can I get it on Amazon? Sure you can.
Sure, anywhere you buy books. And the Smart Alex Guide to History came to our house.
Still in print.
Isn't that? And it's still getting sold.
Well, it's still being sold. I think my last royalty check was like. I used to joke, one of these days I'll be able to get myself a Happy Meal. I was like, no, this one I could not in fact get a Happy Meal with this royalty check. But
I've gotten checks for 9 cents for appearances on like Nick Mom's Night Out on Amazon. But you have, I want to say now, you've got to be up to 28 books because years ago I would say 24.
It kind of depends on what counts too.
Sure.
Like the ones that I just put out as ebooks only, I don't necessarily count.
Sure.
Well, the next one that's going to be published will be out in just a few weeks now, less than a month. Graveyards of Trinity Church in St. Paul's.
Nice.
Which is a couple of graveyards down in the financial district in Manhattan where Alexander Hamilton is surely the most famous person. There was a lot of various founders and there's a line from a movie that just resonated with me the whole time I was researching these guys. It's in The Great Muppet Caper, where Sam the Eagle looks down and says, "You are all weirdos." That's a pretty good word for these 1700s guys. When I research people from the 1800s, even though like the high society ones who seem so distant and unimportant, I can vibe with them. I can kind of understand we have some of the same concerns. The 1700s guys are just weird.
Yeah. I can imagine. A listener just texted in they wanted to be reminded what the website is. Go ahead.
Yeah, go to adamchicago.com is the easiest thing to think of. The Mysterious Chicago Facebook is going to be where the best conversation is. Just be on the Mysterious Chicago page there about a few minutes before 8 o'clock Central Time. And
if folks aren't on Facebook, is there a link from your website?
Even if you are not, even if you don't have an account, just go to facebook.com/Mysterious Chicago. You don't need an account just to watch.
Okay, great.
You need one to comment.
Right.
But also, if you go to adamchicago.com and click on the link for it, there should be stuff about watching on YouTube or Twitch as well.
And then every single day, you do a 10 a.m. mini tour.
Yep, every day.
And so, folks, once you go to the Facebook page and you watch tonight's virtual show. But by the way, I mean, Adam does some extraordinary tours. It's still every Thursday at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he's done things he'll do virtual pub crawls, and he's included in the past, no pressure, but some great cocktail ingredients.
It's about time. Next. Oh, it really probably should have been this week that I did the Drink Like the Dickens one.
I shouldn't have said that.
I just realized it's less than a week until Christmas.
Wednesday is Christmas.
We'll do it for Boxing Day, I guess.
Perfect.
That's a very Dickensian thing to do anyway.
I love that. So for Boxing Day.
And I got some new footage for that while I was in the UK, too. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So Adam also was following the Bob Dylan tour in England. The day of the election was in Edinburgh.
It was in Edinburgh the night of the election, and I had a great night with my friends. We wandered around. We played the Simpsons arcade game in a retro bar after the show.
Oh my God!
I got rip-roaring drunk. Then I came back to the hotel, put on the news, and got more and more and more drunk, and spent the next day just wandering around, spending money freely,
trying to decide we should stay.
Yeah, trying to decide. It's like a barber for hire. I could learn to do that, right? And even, Dylan does not really comment on politics these days. I think when you're 23 and they put your face on the cover of Esquire with Malcolm X, Fidel Castro, and John F. Kennedy,
yikes.
You want to run away from that kind of thing as fast as you can.
Right.
But over the intro to the last song, after seeming kind of surly all night in the show, we can just play here every night, actually. Maybe we ain't going back.
Oh, that's wild.
Which for him is quite a statement, really.
Yeah, no kidding.
And having been through his notebooks, no, he's not secretly a conservative.
Yeah, folks always want to claim that for...
Well, people try to claim everything for him, and I tried to make a point of saying I'm not speaking for him. I don't know what goes on in his head. But his friend Kinky Friedman was once quoted as saying, well, Bob has been everything you can be except a Republican.
Right. Wow, that's wild. I'm looking forward to tonight's tour. I'll have that on as well. Again, folks, go to Facebook. It's Mysterious Chicago.
That's where most of it's still where most of the action is. We've tried putting it other places, but that's always where the most lively conversation is.
Well, and also I know that I always get alerts through Eventbrite. So you can also go to Eventbrite.
Eventbrite has all of the listings and stuff. It won't stream on Eventbrite for you, but it'll have all of the information for how to go to. Yeah,
right. So you can put it in your calendar because then it merges with your calendar, and you have all the information about when Adam's tours are coming up. And Adam will be hopefully filling in soon for me and taking over the airwaves for a couple hours.
Sure.
And again tonight at 8 o'clock, it's the Women of Graceland Cemetery. He's working on a second sequel to his Graceland Cemetery book. Again, the title is available.
Graceland Cemetery, Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets.
Outstanding. So I know you have to go.
I gotta get back in time to do that tour and grab a hot dog on the way home.
Going to Super Dog?
I'll probably go to Super Dog.
Super Dog. I'm just saying. That's good stuff. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Adam. Be safe.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thanks,
and I'll talk to you again soon.
Let's
take a break here. We'll continue our conversation on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. You can give us a call if you want. 773-763-9278. That's the number to call and join our conversation. And we'll be right back after this.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
We know that we could all stand to eat more fruits and vegetables. But for people with high blood pressure who are at risk for heart and kidney disease, this is really important. Researchers at UT Austin decided to do something kind of interesting. They tested whether or not reducing the amount of acid in your diet could reduce kidney and heart disease-related complications of high blood pressure. Now, why did they do that? Because animal products like meat, they tend to produce more acid. Fruits and vegetables tend to produce more base when consumed. The results were pretty clear. It's why the American Heart Association recommends 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I know that can be hard to get to. The experts we talked to about this said, try and eat produce in season. That's when it's going to taste better. And add some flavor to what you make to make those healthy foods even more palatable. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large. Because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx, save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy skies tonight with a little bit of light snow developing, a dusting up to an inch of accumulation with a low of 29. Snow on Friday with a dusting up to an inch of snowfall and a high around 35 degrees. Saturday, partly sunny with a high temperature around 28 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high around 32. On Monday, we'll see rain, a little bit of freezing rain early in the day with a high around 39. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 32.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx, save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
Hi, this is Joan Esposito. 2024 is just about over, and we are taking a deep breath before 2025. WCPT is so grateful for our loyal listeners who've been with us day in and day out. In appreciation, WCPT is giving you a chance to win a $25 gift certificate at Fry the Coop restaurants with 9 locations throughout Chicagoland. Listen to win during my show, Richard Chu's Views, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and on Patti Vasquez, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Fry the Coop is Chicagoland's answer to Nashville Hot Chicken, a fast, casual eatery that can bring the heat. Each piece of made-to-order chicken is juicy, flavorful, and spiced to perfection, whether you want it crazy hot or no heat at all. Fry the Coop satisfies your hot chicken fix. Fry the Coop with 9 Chicagoland locations. For more information, visit frythecoop.com. Eat local fried chicken and come get your happiness.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Hey, it's Patty here, reminding you that Minocqua Brewing Company's progressive beers like Maga Tears IPA, Biden Beer, and the LGBTQ-inspired Love Wins Fruited Sour are now available at Chicagoland locations like Armanetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Beer Shop in Oak Park, McLean Liquors in South Elgin, Beer on Central in Evanston, and My Buddies, a pride-friendly bar on Clark in Chicago. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
And That promo from Joe Esposito, championing our fantastic sponsors, Fry the Coop, reminded me that I have a $25 gift card to give away. And I believe the number one was chosen. The number one was chosen. So 773-763-9278. The first caller to call for this prize will win a gift card. Fry the Coop is a destination for hot chicken in Chicagoland, giving a Southern original Midwest touch. Whether you want heat or no heat, I have switched to no heat in the last couple of years. Featuring chicken sandwiches, tenders, chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles is so good. And now nuggets, all delivering happiness in each crunchy bite. Proudly not using seed oils, they are frying all of their menu items in 100% beef tallow. Stop by Fry the Coop today at one of its many locations from Oak Lawn, Chicago, Elmhurst, Darien, Prospect Heights, Tinley Park, and Bolingbrook. You can have no heat, mild, medium, hot, or crazy insanity. If that's your thing, go for it. And to celebrate the holidays, Fry the Coop gave WCPT $25 gift cards as our little gift to you. So our first caller is going to get that. Lady B is answering the phones. Contests running on WCPT at 20 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com and click on the contest tab. And there you go. Lady B will be picking a winner in just a moment. Let's get to back to our conversations about the news of the day, which is apparently the continuing resolution to have a budget passed before the end of the year has failed again because Elon Musk is in charge. Don't you know that, Dave? Elon Musk is in charge. He's running things now.
Yeah. I was watching a little bit earlier. I seen where I think it was on MSNBC where Howard Dean talked a little bit. He said that Trump can't handle this thing with Musk right now. That he's used to being the one, being kind of in control or being that kind of stuff. And where Musk, he's kind of taking the oxygen out of the room, from Trump and that. And he doesn't care. He trashes whatever dinner and that. And he just doesn't care. He's going to get his whatever 300 and some billion he paid to Trump, to get him elected or that. And basically, money equals power.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Supreme Court said that money does equal power, that money is speech. So why wouldn't Elon Musk use his freedom of speech, I guess?
Yeah. This is kind of reminiscent. You remember those... from the historical films, when Howard Hughes was called before Congress, and when they started asking him questions, he just turned his back to the Congress, and they didn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing to him.
Yeah.
At the time, he was one of the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing, what Musk is doing. He's kind of giving the bird to everybody there. And you think Trump and his acolytes or whatever, they kind of think that they may have opened up Pandora's box instead of that Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah, really? Have their faces melt off? Is that what you're going for?
Well, that is just, Musk himself being inside of the Pandora's box, and they thought that, like on the... I don't know if the Ark of the Covenant, they thought they'd find the treasures and all of that stuff in there with this guy. But I don't know, and then it's just, this train wreck keeps going on between the two. Maybe after the 20th, Trump will have Cash Patel arrested. He'll be the head of the FBI.
Oh, hey Dave, you want to hear? Should we listen to a couple minutes of Howard Hughes and Senator Owen Brewster engaging in a heated argument? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this. You want to hear it?
All right.
Here, hold on. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me see if I got it.
Bitter controversy marks final sessions of a subcommittee investigating Howard Hughes' wartime plane contracts. Hughes replies to a demand he produce his missing publicity man, John Meyer.
Well, Senator, may I ask a question? Well, now, if you'll just wait till I issue a subpoena for Mr. Mars, I've asked you whether or not you would produce him, and you said you didn't know, as I understand it.
I don't remember if that was my answer.
Well, what was your answer?
I don't remember. Get it off the record.
Oh, jeez.
Now, Mr. Hughes, I'm asking you what your answer was. And we're not going to have this bickering back and forth. You are before this committee, and you're going to answer the question.
You asked me just now about a reply that I made. My answer is I don't remember. Now, the man is...
But I'll ask you again.
What?
Will you bring Mr. Mars in at the 2 o'clock session?
No, I don't think I will.
Will you try to bring him in?
No, I don't think I'll try.
All right.
Right?
Another subpoena is issued for Meyer. And
that's the thing, is it like because to your point, like he's like, no, I'm not gonna comply.
Sweat of my life into this thing. I have my reputation rolled up in it, and I have stated several times that if it's a failure, I'll probably leave this country and never come back, and I mean it.
When the subcommittee decides to recess until November, Mr. Hughes issues a parting shot at his chief opponent.
When Senator Brewster realized that he was fighting a battle against public opinion, a losing battle, he folded up and took a run-out powder. Yes, that was the tip-off. When Senator Brewster hit the road for the backwoods of Maine, that meant the hearing was over. Washington was too hot for him. He couldn't take it. After that, the other senators in this committee saw no reason why they should fight Brewster's losing battle for him if he was too cowardly to remain and face the music.
Yes, the thing is, Dave, to your point, like the electeds have never known how to deal with the uber wealthy and steamrolling over our government and deciding how our government works.
Yeah, that's what kind of just reminded me of it. That that I remember they used to show that historical one showing Hughes in front of the Congress, and that and same thing. These guys, they can thumb their nose, do whatever. And Trump's not used to getting his own medicine done to him.
Yeah. So. And by the way, for folks who don't know, Howard Hughes was being investigated for profiteering during with his government contracts during World War II, and he refused to cooperate with investigations and defended his business practices. And apparently, the Congress was powerless to do anything to hold him accountable.
Yes, and in a way too, he was a kind of a prescient genius too. Remember, he did all that inventions and stuff like that. He was kind of like the Elon Musk before there wasn't Elon Musk, because he did that. He sunk that money in the Spruce Goose.
Yep. Yeah, the Spruce Goose. That's right.
That big plane that I think it only flew like once, but he did it just to his ego to prove that it could be done.
Yeah, it is astounding to me that that people just didn't care that they were being. I mean, I guess if you don't know you're being manipulated and basically hoodwinked into a decline of democracy. Elon Musk going on his social media platform and saying, hey, tell him to stop the bill, stop the vote, no more money, and choking off like a lot of areas of our industry that rely on this budget being passed, the least of which, not the least of which, but I mean, including our farmers, right? That it's feast or famine literally in agriculture when it comes to the weather, and we have this acceleration of climate change. And now they have the vulnerability of whether or not Elon Musk thinks that they deserve any subsidies. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, like we spoke about the farms the other week, like I told you, that story about up at the Wisconsin, that farm, that time that they had lost like 700 farms at that time, and they had suicides, a lot of the suicides, and this was under the last Trump.
Yeah.
Pre-Elon type. Now, I mean, if they don't get this thing straight, they'll be having to unload the land probably to the Chinese or whoever will buy the land. They've been gobbling it up left and right. Listen, let me go off and sure there's others I want to talk. But I just thought that I gave you that comparison about with...
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, we survived Howard Hughes. I wonder if we can survive. I mean, we've survived other billionaires. Although, I will say that there were different mechanisms in place in order to continue to benefit Americans because we did more appropriately tax the uber wealthy. when we had the stomach for it until Ronald Reagan decided that we didn't need to do that, amongst other things. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back in just a moment, continue to take your phone calls. WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Our number is 773-763-9278. You can call or text to that number and hop on with us. More in a moment.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez, and I'm thrilled to announce that Driving at Home with Patti Vasquez now has its very own podcast that you can subscribe to. Actually, 2 Driving at Home full episodes and Driving at Home featured interviews. You can subscribe to one or both. Just search for Driving at Home wherever you get your podcasts, or get the podcast links on my show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on my picture.
Patti Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820.
After serving in the military, life can seem like an endless loop. But the cycle can be broken. You're not alone. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
Is credit card or other debt making it difficult to pay your rent or mortgage? Home insecurity is often the unintended consequence of an inability to pay mounting credit card debt, student loans, or medical debt. But by working with a nonprofit credit counselor, you can avoid or reduce the risk of eviction or foreclosure while tackling debt for good. For more information about how nonprofit credit counseling can help, visit nfcc.org. Made possible in part by the nonprofit Wells Fargo Foundation.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home in the last stretch of the show. On the line, we have Paul from Seattle. Paul, thank you so much for calling. What's on your mind, my friend?
I was listening to your discussion about Charles Dickens.
Oh, and, yes. I'm sorry, Adam left, but continue. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned it. So Charles Dickens actually was one of the most vocal objectioners or objectionists to there was copyright pirating going on before there was file sharing. And so American copyright law, I mean, this is Constitution lesson here. You don't really have a right to a copyright. It's a regulation, and it says in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, I think it's about clause number 10 or 15, it says you have a limited right to protect a limited right to copyright. So you only have one. And foreign authors, British authors, did not have copyright. So didn't have copyright protection. So 2 weeks after Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, it was being pirated, and bootleg copies were selling on the streets of New York for like 2 cents.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and he was really, really angry about it.
I don't blame him.
But to be fair, British law didn't protect American copyright either. So the idea that Americans, we're the only ones who have our intellectual property stolen is this complete horsepucky. But there was actually, believe it or not, an episode of Bonanza, I think it was in season 5, where Charles Dickens was featured. He came to Virginia City, and he was reading the Pickwick Papers, and the people in the library, or wherever he's reading, they were like reading right along with him. And he said, "Am I to understand that you already know the Pickwick Papers?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, we've heard about it." And so he got really furious, and he filed a lawsuit, which I guess he did. But what was funny about who played Charles Dickens was Jonathan Harrison, Dr. Smith from Lost in Space is the one who plays that part. It was hilarious. Anyway, that was just a little Christmas constitutional Christmas tidbit. Yeah. But to follow up with what Dave was saying, I'm totally for starting Trump's term with a government shutdown.
Yeah.
I don't think I have called my representatives in Congress and said, do not help them dig themselves out like we always do. How many times have the Republicans held the Democrats over a barrel over the debt ceiling, right?
Yeah. Repeatedly.
So why help them?
Every time we're supposed to pass a budget or having a continuing resolution, we play these games. I mean, and then we hear about Republicans in these back rooms and Matt Gaetz harassing people and threatening them if they go along with the Democrat, like all this nonsense, and it costs this country, for being fiscally responsible, quote unquote. It costs us billions of dollars to crawl back out of these government shutdowns, and it harms people fundamentally.
Right, and let me point something out here. Why we have these periodic continuing resolutions is because we have not had a federal budget that was signed into law since 2008. George W. Bush was the last president who signed a federal budget into law.
Yep.
And that was when the Democrats... Yeah, when the Democrats controlled Congress, and when Obama was president, the Republicans filibustered every budget that was put forward, and they never submitted a budget when they held the House. They never ratified a budget, and when Trump took office, they said we don't trust Obama to honor the budget. But when Trump took office the first time, they never had a budget, and we have not had a federal budget since 2008, and we're still playing this game. And now Trump wants to raise the debt ceiling in advance, and I hope everybody knows, so that he can run up the credit card like he did before.
Yeah,
just to spend money to give it to the billionaires, to give it to Elon Musk.
Yes.
Out of your pocket.
It's asinine.
So I hope the government does step back. I hope he starts off with government is closed.
Right.
That would be a great start for him. That nothing's going to happen. I just think that the Democrats should not help dig out and say, well, because the Democrats in the last session, this session actually, that's still in turn, they've helped Mike Johnson. They've bailed him out. In fact,
absolutely.
No more, Mr. Nice Guy. No more bailing out Mike Johnson. And I hope they dump him. And I don't think that the Democrats should vote for anybody. Just either don't vote or just vote thumbs down on anybody that they put up.
Well, one listener asked, wonders if there is a government shutdown, then Trump can come in and they open it back up and he can say he fixed it. And say that it was Biden's fault that we had a government shutdown in the first place.
Yeah, it's Biden's fault. Well, if you don't give, I hope the Democrats are, astute enough to say, if you don't give them a bill, and this is a problem, is that the American people, by and large, well, I think it's probably across the board, but Trump supporters and Trump himself doesn't understand the Constitution. If you don't give Biden a bill, and this is what the Constitution does, he blames somebody, and people just are looking for somebody to blame. But if you blame Biden, you can't blame Biden if you don't present him with a bill. And if the House can't get it together, remember the Congress is two chambers, but they must speak with one voice. And this is what they keep doing, is blaming Biden when the Republicans in the House can't even get a bill together that will pass the Senate, regardless of who's in power.
Right. But here's the thing, to your point, is that, whether or not people know that that's not how this works, that Biden can't pass a budget if he doesn't get a budget. They also think, there are people who think that it's Biden's fault that Roe v. Wade fell. I mean, there's this, we're not operating from the same set of facts at all.
Well, here's the thing about that. I've always thought that was curious, is that, so Trump supporters want to blame Biden because Roe v. Wade was overturned. So did they support Roe v. Wade or not? I mean, do they even know what it is? I mean, if you're going to, I thought the Trump supporters will be glad that Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yeah.
Or is that Democrat? If Democrats don't understand, if people don't understand, I mean, if you're against abortion, then I would think you'd be glad that Biden overturned Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Or at least if you think, I mean, what the hell is that? What kind of logic? And you realize that the logic, people don't have any. They just repeat what they hear, and it's like, and that's the best way, by the way, to sound like a complete idiot is just to repeat things that you hear and you don't understand yourself.
Yeah, that you're not processing. We have a listener out of Massachusetts. His name's Johnny, and he texts me every once in a while because it's kind of a progressive radio. It is a progressive radio desert. Most of this country is. I mean, they've been force fed. Yeah. You know, whether it's Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or Levine or all these folks. And Johnny says, I listened to your show this morning, and your guest said the right has a very strong way of getting their message out with media. And I agree. All AM radio in Massachusetts is pro President Trump and Elon. Oh, Vice President Trump and President Elon Musk. Right? Yeah. I talk to people about what I listen to on WCPT, and the reply I get is that Musk and Trump are only going to do that to illegals, and we will be safe. It's David agrees that 47 will be a kleptocracy.
Well, you know, there's. When I was living in Michigan taking care of my mom when she was just before she died, I realized something about one of the major stations there, WJR, AM 760. It used to be the, kind of the flagship radio station of Michigan. I mean, you could hear it all over Michigan, 50,000-watt station. And, I grew up listening to Detroit Tiger baseball in the backyard with my dad. It was a full-service family radio station. But it was purchased by Cumulus about 30-some years ago. Right. And it is now a right-wing bunch of BS. Yep. But they keep they put people on throughout the day who are local broadcasters. I think a lot of people, because a lot of people have WJR in the car. I've gotten in the car with people, and they got it on, and they don't realize that they are now being fed right-wing propaganda because many of these people have been listening to that station for decades, and they don't realize you are now being fed right-wing propaganda. They take it as, as truth and as news.
Yes. Yeah.
That's weird.
It is mind-boggling.
It's like the who owns Cumulus or not owns who was the CEO of Cumulus Media, or at least was Mary Byrne, who was she used to be the CEO of Reader's Digest. That's why I say that Cumulus Media, you get the Reader's Digest version of the news.
Oh, man. Well, we'll keep chugging along with our little progressive talks. I appreciate it, Paul. Good to hear from you. Have a wonderful holiday.
Take care,
I won't be on tomorrow, so have a great weekend, too.
You too.
Thank you. By the way, I am not going to be on tomorrow. Our good friend Dan Shafer of the Politini, Dan Shafer's and Tuesdays with Josie, will be filling in for me. And so tomorrow's schedule looks great. Tomorrow morning on Choose Views, Richard will be taking your calls and talking to Karen Byrne of the True Blue podcast, True Blue Politics podcast. Choose Views weekdays from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. right here on WCPT. That's Central Time, of course. You can stream it live on WCPT's Facebook page or YouTube pages. And Joan will be taking your calls and talking to Chef Lisa Counts of the Chopping Block and Tony Fitzpatrick, of course, our favorite Chicago artist. Joan Esposito live, local and progressive weekdays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And if you miss any of our shows or you want to go back and listen to something, all of our shows are podcasts. And so Driving It Home has not one, but two podcasts, Driving It Home full episodes and Driving It Home featured interviews. Subscribe to one or both. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Search for Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez, and subscribe to one or both. So thank you so much, Lady B. Get well, my friend. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Good night, all.
This is the WCPT Moment in Labor. In 2011, 6 Jimmy John's employees in Minneapolis were fired by their franchise-owning company, Mickey Lynn Enterprises, after fighting